Welcome back to Narrow Path Doctrine. My name is Jim. I want to talk about the Sabbath today. As Christians, are we supposed to keep the Sabbath? What day is the Sabbath? Is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? I've actually seen videos where they talk about people who keep the Sabbath on Sunday and go to church. Well, that's the mark of the beast. Yeah, I've seen that actually from people here on YouTube. It's ridiculous, the false teaching that we see out there. Let's get into depth as to just what the Sabbath is, and as Christians, are we supposed to keep the Sabbath? To begin with, we need to understand that the Sabbath was instituted under the Old Covenant with the nation of Israel, so that should give us a pretty big hint right there. In Exodus 20, 8 through 11, the fourth commandment states, "Remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates." Here, the Sabbath was given to Israel as a sign of the covenant between them and God. A day of rest as God rested on the seventh day after creation, right? The law, including the Sabbath commandment, was meant to guide the people of Israel. However, the New Testament reveals that the law had a temporary purpose. In Galatians 3:24 through 25, Paul writes, "Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. But after that faith is come, we are no longer under a schoolmaster." The Sabbath, along with other ceremonial aspects of the Mosaic law, served to point towards something greater, the coming of Christ. Once Jesus fulfilled the law, its ceremonial requirements, including the Sabbath, were no longer binding on Christians. Jesus' relationship to the Sabbath was revolutionary. He didn't abolish the law, but he fulfilled it. In Matthew 12:8, Jesus declares, "For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day." By this, Jesus indicates his authority over the Sabbath, showing that he has the power to interpret its meaning and its purpose. In several instances, such as healing on the Sabbath, which he seemed to do an awful lot, Jesus emphasized that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. That is in Mark 2:27 through 28. His focus was not on strict legalistic observance, but on the heart behind the law. With Jesus' death and resurrection, a new covenant was established. In Romans 10:4, Paul makes it clear that Christ is the end of the law for righteousness. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. Under the new covenant, Christians are no longer bound to the ceremonial aspects of the Mosaic law, including Sabbath observance. This is reinforced in Colossians 2:16 through 17, where Paul explicitly teaches, "Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of any holy or an holy day, or of the new moon or the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ." Paul's message is clear. The Sabbath, along with other Jewish festivals, was a shadow pointing to Christ. Now that Christ has come, we are no longer required to observe these shadows. Another important passage is found in Romans 14:5 through 6, where Paul speaks about the freedom Christians have regarding days of worship. "One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regardeth the day regardeth it unto the Lord. And he that regardeth not the day to the Lord, he doth not regard it. He that eateth, eateth to the Lord, for he giveth God thanks. And he that eateth not to the Lord, he eateth not, and giveth God thanks." Here Paul teaches that whether a Christian observes a special day like the Sabbath is a matter of personal conviction, not a requirement. What matters most is that whatever is done unto the Lord. Do all things to the glory of God, right? Finally, it's crucial to understand that the Sabbath as a day of rest was a foreshadowing of the ultimate rest that we find in Christ. Hebrews 4:9 through 10 explains this spiritual rest. "There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God, for he that is entered into his rest, he also hath ceased from his own works as God did from his." In the new covenant, the Sabbath rest is not just about one day of the week, but about entering into the spiritual rest that Christ offers through faith. This is a continual rest from works as we trust in Christ for our salvation. So to summarize, while the Sabbath was an important part of the Old Covenant law given to Israel, the New Testament teaches that Christians are not required to observe the Sabbath. Jesus fulfilled the law, including the Sabbath, Matthew 12:8. Paul teaches that the Sabbath was a shadow pointing to Christ, and Christians are not judged for failing to observe it, Colossians 2:16 through 17. Christians are called to live in the freedom that Christ provides, not bound to Old Testament ceremonial laws, Romans 14:5 through 6. Our true rest is found in Christ, not in a specific day, Hebrews 4:9 through 10. Therefore, Christians are not under obligation to keep the Sabbath as part of their walk with God. Instead, we are invited to live in the spiritual rest that Christ provides every day of our lives. All right, I hope that clears it up just a little bit. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Narrow Path Doctrine. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and if you haven't done so as of yet, please click the subscribe button and the notification bell to get updates when new videos like this one come out. So until next time, remember, true doctrine fuels a living, breathing faith. God bless.